Right, tally out their champs, and yes, this is the ultimate shootout. I promise you, we're going to get a conclusive idea. Is this 32 core M1 Max with 64 gig RAM as fast as a 100 watt RTX 3080? And that's what this has inside, but it also has a special CPU, a 35 watt Ryzen 4900HS, so lower powered. So this is more comparable. Actually, this is thinner and lighter than the MacBook Pro 16 and the X1, which this actually destroyed the X1 that had a 100 watt RTX 3080, which was thermally constrained. This one won't be thermally constrained, and this one can perform on battery. So it's going to be interesting when I pull out the power, which one's faster, because this will use the battery to maximum performance it can on the battery, which it will take a haircut, but how much of a haircut? And I love your guys' passion down there in the comments, going at it, you know, PC Master Race versus Mac Daddies. That's good to see. The passion, just don't go over the line, you know, no bullying, no like personal insults or whatever, but you can, you know, you can go your end, all right? Now, I hope you can't hear the fans too much. Well, we already can hear the fans. This is the same settings on both of these. Now, I've got to talk about some optimization sort of thing. So if you don't know what laptop this is the G15 Zephyrus ROG, and they do gaming right, liquid metal, stuff like that, Ryzen 9. It is an awesome machine. And because it has that HS processor, it only has a 200 watt power supply. So it doesn't have a big one like the Legion 7, right? We are going to find how many watts this pulls from the wall. We know that the MacBook Pro does about 80 to 100 watts during this test. We'll just say 90 as a medium. How much more wattage is this going to pull, considering it has a Ryzen 9 and it's a 35 watt part? Now, as some people have pointed out in the comments, and I think it's prudent to point this out, this is a game obviously made and optimized for NVIDIA cards. This is not optimized. It's running in Rosetta. Yes, it's translated to Metal, but there are no optimizations. And as you'll know, in the PC world, when a new game comes out, a new big title, NVIDIA will release a new driver specifically optimized for that game. This optimization, believe it or not, can give you commonly 10% boost. It is not uncommon to see a 20% boost, and even more just having a driver optimized for the game compared to the previous driver that wasn't optimized for the game. That is for real. No optimizations here, okay? Also, this has resizable bar. This is where the CPU can access the GPU memory. That gives this a 10% boost as well. At least, sometimes more, sometimes less. Now, this does not have a MUX switch. Yes, you can connect to, you know, an external monitor and get faster speeds out of this, but I think all things considered, you can see there's a lot more optimization done on this with drivers, resizable bar, and just being a gaming laptop after all, and this, a game, compared to this, virtually nothing done to it, right? So what I'm getting to here is, I don't think it's unreasonable to say that this could get a 10, 20, 30% boost just if it was optimized, okay? So we'll dig into that a bit later and speculate. So let's see which one's faster out of these two. So let's run the test, the same settings, and then we'll do battery. I'm going to tell you the wattage this pulls. Remember, keep that figure in your mind of 90 watts, sort of as a medium there, as what the wattage this pulls. And exactly the same settings, 1920 by 1200, and let's do it. And then do it on battery. Run the benchmark. All right, so again, Ryzen 9 4900HS. You can see they're pulling 100 frames per second. It loaded pretty quick there. And that's a 35 watt part, RTX 3080 100 watts. This one's taken a while to load today. Oh, PC's loading faster today. It's usually the other way around. I think it's searching for some network updates or something. I think because I've got this in airplane mode. But as you can see here, pulling 100 frames per second, and we're pulling 164 watts from the wall. 164 watts from the wall. We already know this does 92 frames per second as an average at the test, so it doesn't matter if that goes on. We know it does 92. You've seen in the other videos, 92 is the figure. Here, 166 watts from the wall. 90, 166, right? Oh, it's decided to load up. Yep, there you can see there, 110 frames per second, 160 watts. So, yeah, basically 75 watts, maybe more this does. And you can hear the fans. It is in its full power mode, so it's in its turbo mode, which actually has a slight overclock on the GPU as well. So you know, that is what it is. And overclock on the CPU as well. You can't really overclock these Ryzens. Yeah, but pushing 115 frames per second. And we already know that we'll end up doing 92. We're going to see them on battery in a sec. Yeah, again, still pushing 160 watts. Now it's hit hyperdrive those fans. But you're not going to see any massive thermal throttling like you got on the X1. And Intel are faster for gaming, so Ryzen is slightly slower for gaming, but really it's not that much of a haircut using the Ryzen. It's pretty close. And what you get is cooler gaming. So the Ryzen CPU uses a lot less power than the Intel system. As you can see here, 160 watts is pretty modest for a gaming laptop with a 100 watt RTX 3080. Still pushing 100 frames. This one here is doing 90. Again, we already know the 92 score at the end. It'll be interesting. It's a lot hotter today, so maybe there might be a bit of a difference in the outcome. But this one's nearly finished now. Let's have a listen again. Hyper mode. Yeah, you can hear the fans. I can't hear those. I mean, there's no point me putting the mic up to it. I will. The noise you're probably hearing is from this, but let's see here. 93 frames per second. Still pulling 160 watts, 163, 165 watts from the wall, compared to 90 watts from the wall. And let's see, what do we have here? Okay, same settings. We're getting 105 frames per second. Okay, so this one does 92. We know that. Okay, surprise, surprise, does 92. So that's 13 frames per second faster with this 100 watt RTX 3080. So you might be thinking, okay, so this is faster. But again, let's go back to those optimizations, right? The drivers can make 10 to 20% difference, resizable bar, etc. Everything is optimized for this for gaming, nothing is optimized for this for gaming. So at 92 frames per second, let's say we get some optimizations of 10%. What are you looking at there? 101 frames per second. Then we're getting very close. Let's go to 20% optimization. We're getting 110 frames per second. Now this is surpassing this. And now let's say 30% optimization. Now we're getting to 119 frames per second. I think all things being equal, I reckon this is at least as fast as an RTX 3080 100 watter. Apple might not have been talking rubbish. I think they're in the ballpark there. So let's put them on battery power and do the same test. Now this one will perform on battery. I love these things. You'll see here it goes into performance mode. It cannot use turbo mode on battery. This one here, everybody's telling me the tip, you just pull it down like that and it comes out. Yeah, well, I sort of knew that, but it's just muscle memory for me to pull it out. But anyway, let's do the test again on battery. We'll start this one first because it took 100 years to load this time. And we'll run this one and we'll see on battery. All right, so let's do it. 85 frames per second. We know on battery it's going to be exactly the same. It's going to be 92 frames per second. We know that. This one, slightly less FPS, 80 frames, not capped at 30 now, right? Fans. I can't hear that. I know the fans are going, but I can hardly hear it. 82 frames per second, around 82 as well. Very close. This is going to be very, very close, I think, on battery. This is taking a haircut, but not as much as you would think. They're both in the 70s now, mid-70s, both of them. It's going to be very interesting to see which one's faster on battery. And by the way, this will game for about 1.5 hours at this output, okay? So if you're going to game on this, yes, 1.5. You think, oh, it's going to have 10 out. No. If you're gaming at 90 watts, you know, you're pulling 90 watts from the battery, it's only going to game for about 1.5 hours, a little bit more. So when you game on these, make sure you're using low power mode. That's what you want to be doing. But again, very close here, slight edge to that. That's doing high 80s, this is doing low 80s. That's the difference I can see, high 80s, low to mid 80s now. So very close. Which one do you reckon will be faster on battery? I would love to know how much they're actually drawing. We know this is drawing that sort of 90 watts because that's the exact same it was drawing from the wall. We have no idea what this is drawing. We know it went down one level. It went from turbo mode to performance mode, so it is obviously using less than 160 watts. How much less? I have no idea. But again, 130 frames, 150 nearly. 150 versus 125. 135 versus 124. 106 versus 100, or just slipping under 100 now. We're going under 100 frames per second. This one's under 100 now too. It's in the high 80s, low 90s. This one's the same sort of thing here. Low 80s, high 70s, low 80s. So it's going to be very, very close. This is going to be neck and neck. I don't think there's going to be too much in between there. In between these two, and yeah, pushing 90 FPS, pushing 80 now. So I reckon it's going to be 4 or 5 faster maybe on an average there. Certainly can't hear it again. This. Now, I have done this before, but I'm just, a bit of entertainment here. Which one's going to be faster? Oh, let's see. We know what this is going to do, 92 or 91. It's going to be within margin of error there. 92, as you'd expect, exactly the same on battery as it is on power. And 86. So a bit of a haircut, but not too bad. I mean, it's a big haircut compared to 105, but compared to this is faster on battery, but it's 86 versus 92. It's not, would you notice? I doubt it. But one thing I can tell you is this drains 9% of the battery doing this test. This drains 2%. Now, the batteries are different sizes, of course. And by the way, this has awesome battery life. This has over 10 hours battery life. This is one of the Windows laptops that has awesome battery life. There you have it. I think conclusively we can say that this is in the ballpark of 100 watt RTX 3080 if it was optimized. I think I'm comfortable saying that. I know a lot of people will disagree, but there's a lot of optimization that go into this, drivers. NVIDIA do a driver specifically for a game. And also you get, resizable bar and that. I think I'm comfortable saying that it's in the ballpark at least of 100 watt, and I don't think Apple will lie. 100 watt RTX 3080, that is just amazing, and performance on battery exactly the same, and this thing's amazing as well. I really like this laptop, the Zephyrus. Yeah, catch you next one, guys. Tally ho.